Let's start by mentioning a few key points, such as word salad. If there is damage to areas of the brain for whatever reasons, such as the Broca's area in the frontal lobe, or the Wernicke's area, if that's how you pronounce it, in the temporal lobe, or actually, that could affect communication. This here demonstrates part of the Lego Garden Club, integrating through our senses and our social skills by practicing from different modalities such as IFS, internal family systems, Lego-based therapy, Lego serious play, Lego build the change, Lego build to launch, and Lego STEAM education, and to mention Lego She Built That. By using different Lego features, we can work on rehabilitation of our communications. Given that food as medicine, and then here comes the word salad. If there was stroke or brain injury, and there was some, I'm not exactly sure which one, but recovering from with these tools to help with bringing support tools, prevention and recovery support tools to the environment. Rodale Institute is focused on food as medicine through regenerative organic living practices. If you learn about the food chain and the food web, and then growth and development, and trying to take your life back and give life meaning through grief from internalized and externalized environments, you can create self-energy with a value system that aligns to your independence. Now, if you look at the features here, you can see minifigures in the back. We have the one on the left. Her name, I call her Misfit. Misfit is one of the co-creators of Newtable Blooms Homestead and Newtable Blooms Cafe. And she works with Professor Newt. Professor Newt is the third minifigure from the right inward with the Hidden Disability Sunflower Program lanyard. Now, Hidden Disability Sunflower Program partnered with Lego to help with neurodiversity, which includes neurotypical labels and neurodivergent labels, regardless of the age. And we're going to go back over to the left, and we're going to go to the second one. In here is Olivia. She wears pink overalls and glasses. She is also a part of me. These are characters, a part of my story. Now, Olivia is a gardener and she came across some snakes over her lifetime, as we do here on Earth. And she is trying to regenerate and practice regenerative organic living with gardening as a head chef. Hence here in the center, near center, we have Chef Liv. She has excellent skills, she has training, and she has gifts to share as well. Now here in the center with the Starry Night, we have, let's move Starry Night away just a little bit so you can see her uniform. We have Chi, or Hope. Now Chi is a student, a culinary student in training. She is the center, trying to learn emotional regulation as a neurodivergent, acquired neurodivergent. She also supports the Hidden Disability Sunflower Program. It is a You Teach, I Teach, a mentorship, menteeship, vocational training program trying to incorporate with the Lego Garden Club. Now over to the right, we have Grace. Grace is a ladybug, and she shows up in the garden, and she reminds us to stay in our lane. She travels a lot too, and they're great microbes. Is that how you say it? Microbes. Great for microbial activity in the garden. Okay, so anyway, oops, and then I knock them down. That happens sometimes. And then we have Master Wu. Let's see if we can get it clearer. Master Wu. Master Wu has his wooden stick, and he does training, and then he has an etheric cord. This is to help with independence versus codependence. Now, oops, I also forgot to include Master Wu. He also helps with sensory integration as well, and to be able to become your own kitchen and work towards goals. He demonstrates spiritual learnings and lessons and teachings. Now Van Gogh is part of the journey, and he represents the darkest of nights into the lightest, not the lightest, what word was I thinking? Lightworking through the arts or STEAM education, where we create lesson plans that is trauma informed, where play may have been interrupted. We learn new play as an adult that gives meaning and purpose and is focused and driven by the internal locus of control with other trusted external locus of controls. Excuse me. And then if we back up here a little bit, we have the shaker. This goes into rattling, drumming. It goes into substance use disorder, sensory processing disorder, CPTSD, grief, environmental grief, climate change. Goes into the word salad to the Lego Garden Club with our own salads. We watch the type of materials that we're using, and we try to process any grief that comes up in these groups. We talk about it with peer support and trained facilitators and leaders. In here, you can look at the colors, you can look at what it represents. This reminds me of a carrot. So this is to go with replenishing the food chain, what lights you up. They say neurons that fire together wire together. So I watch the glassware. I try to go focus on microecology and creating a new food web with ingredients that don't throw me through emotional dysregulation. And I process why the glass bothers me. It goes into drug use, and it goes into hoarding, and it goes into emotional dysregulation. Although I do love studying about natural resources and learning where they come from and learning through educational systems, excuse me, such as Rodale Institute. And Escoffier, Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, or Forks Over Knives, and including the culinary theory with spoon theory. We learn and study around plants and lean meats to transition to plant-based living while working through our filtration system and how we filter our emotions, feelings, thoughts, our triangle. What brings you joy? What feelings do these colors evoke for you? What memories do they spark? How do you work on your grief? How do you process your living, funding? How do you work on your burnout? Well, I learned about Reiki years ago, and I had my attunements, and I studied as a Reiki practitioner. I went through the different levels, and I'm trying to refresh my memory. When I had my attunement, I also was quitting smoking cigarettes. I was on medical marijuana, not often. I didn't use it often, but then I found out that I weren't supposed to be using it while driving, while I had nobody to drive me anywhere. And I was trying to quit smoking. I didn't really have anybody knowing how to help me quit. I was also returning to school and trying to parent my neurodivergent son through the grief that we did not know how to process over the years as a family. I tried doing therapies of different types. I did trainings. Boundaries were being overstepped, and we did not know how to regulate. I started learning about the psychoeducation of substances and sensory processing differences, like I said, and I wanted to root in faith. I wanted to learn how to have a new breath. So I quit smoking a couple years ago, and I have been working through post-acute withdrawal syndrome at home, and it has not been the easiest. I did share resources on what was going on. I did reach out to the communities. I did struggle with movement and mobility and energy. I've been trying to form a different level of nutrition with food as medicine and the food web, like I said. What was I going with there? Trying to improve memory and work on the flooding and the breath. Trying to work on my polyvagal tone and build muscle back up and work through heartbreak and loss. I lost my dad a couple months ago. He was a trigger for a long time. I watched him pass since I was a kid because he didn't have the right diagnosis. There's an epidemic going on, and the world has been off balance. I started seeing how everybody was so frantic and chaotic and just buy, and they forgot what was underneath all that buying, all that addictive behavior, all that addictive dysregulation. I started learning about free radicals and oxidative stress and energy, how it's stored through photosynthesis. Now, if photosynthesis during early growth and development was altered, that could affect your states of consciousness. Which brings me also to shamanic journeying, incorporating with exploring religion, which is where Lego serious play comes in. There's different levels of Lego serious play. There's the explorer level, which is considered the yellow brick. Then there's the practitioner level, which is before, I forgot how to word it. I could visualize the chart, but it helps with building blocks of becoming a Lego facilitator or a Lego master. These are my goals: to bring Lego serious play vocational training programs to different organizations, starting with rehabilitation, through play, through communication. When verbal is not always accessible due to a burnout into your nervous system, whether you have a clogged artery or your compassion nerve, or neuropathies or whatever, that affects your mobility. It affects your breath. So there's other ways to connect to the breath. There's ways to work on pain management through STEAM. You can favor science, you can favor technology, you can favor engineering, architecture, arts, or math, or each of them. I see them as intertwined. I don't know how to pick a favorite. It's a mission-driven focus that I have to play. And then if I have a dorsal response or psychosis because there's inflammation in my body, I work on improving that inflammation with teams that can talk to me the way I need to be talked to, who understand my experience without shaming me, without me going through the spirals, or know what a spiral looks like, who are educated around neurodiversity, being neurotypical and neurodivergent, and what neurodivergent is, and how it is different when you are older and you have more stress on your body, mind, and spirit. And if there's interruptions in your early years, the goal is to find neutral ground, grounding and earthing activities through gardening, horticulture, recreational movement, dance, wiggles, giggles. And if it's hard to laugh because you're struggling, there's ways, there's resources, and you stay connected. And if you fall through and you become disconnected, there's messengers, there's hope. And not to live your life in fear, to process your emotions day by day, moment by moment, with prayer or without prayer. I find prayer to be helpful. Sometimes it's very challenging for me to be around people who do not pray, or I don't feel safe with praying with. I'm trying to work on that. I'm learning unity. I'm learning where I feel it in my body. I'm learning feelings again. My body's trying to heal, and I cannot be rushed, but sometimes it feels like sensory environments are rushing me, and I feel the pressure, and that goes into my panic attacks, and I'm working on that. My blood pressure is regulated. Working on cleaning up some side effects such as tachycardia. and muscle relaxation. Gentle stretches. Learning about communication and colors and how they can affect our function, our sense, our not neuropathies, neuroplasticity. There's different types of neuroplasticity, and for them to regenerate, you need to consistently practice using tools that work for your growth, but also to have teams that are on board and to ask questions and know what questions to ask, like what happens after an appointment or after a meeting or a group or whatnot, and you come back here or there, like who is there? And that's where it goes into the divine for me. It gets scary sometimes to live in what feels like a haunted house, but then as you cleanse it, as you work through it, or move on from it without masking, or with an appropriate level of masking, I guess, it can make a difference with your relationship as self and others around you. Interoception and proprioception can be impaired with sensory processing differences. If there's visual processing differences or disorders or disease or whatnot, artery stuff going on, you need to be able to work on nurturing your land back. Learn about the garden. Learn about how foods impact our health, our communications with ourselves and with others. And then place yourself or follow or integrate with those communities. This also represents brain health. This helps me to focus on regenerating gray matter and white matter, and then learning about anything, neurotheology, neuroanatomy, neuroscience, neurosteam, I call it. And I've been reading about that over the time too, but how this connects to your center, your central nervous system. If you align here, or you can move, and then to strengthen those tissues, those cells, those organs, to listen to what your body's saying, what it needs. Are you hydrated? Are you eating the right types of food? What was it like to transition from old foods, from old thoughts? It was challenging. How can you learn leadership skills for your recovery? And what does recovery mean to you? What stigma is in your garden? Do you know what a stigma is within a garden, within a plant? Let's have these discussions, and if we're unsure, let's look into it. This helps with safety. This helps with prevention and recovery. This helps with regulating and stabilizing. Visual learners need different approaches than verbal. Verbal is not the easiest, and it can actually disrupt our nervous system if we have sensory processing differences. It's about the speed, the tempo. It's about the triggers, like speed, right? Authenticity, vulnerability. What is speed? What kind of speed are you referring to? What does that activate in your nervous system? Where do you feel it? Hypervigilance and hypovigilance, or hyperarousal, hypoarousal, can be thrown off, but it can be recovered with the right tools. Mnemonic devices help support different learners. If you think of the learning pyramid and you have the learning pyramid diagram in front of you, you look at retention. Ask questions: what's going on in the person's life? Where are they right now? Do they have a history of? And what does their prognosis look like? Where is this coming from? How can these tools stand with grounding your being and doing with your contributions? How can word salad be improved? What do you need right now? One-on-one, small space, big space? What are your beliefs? What are your values? If there's misunderstanding, which happens because we're humans, nobody knows everything, how can we partner together when there's a history of intimate partner violence due to misunderstandings, miseducation, evolution? What do you expect of the individual, the person? Perfect or progress? How do you treat them? What type of therapies or therapeutic tools are helpful? Let's talk about boundaries and structures, how Lego can help build boundaries and structures and help with that retention. I love civil engineering. I love water treatment, and I love land, and I love learning about climate change, although it is heavy sometimes when it's off-sided with stagnation or movement, too much cognitive movement, not enough physical or spiritual connection with others. I learned more about agriculture through permaculture and biophilic design and how that affects our growth and development. What is the air quality like in an environment? What's the connection, the wiring? How is the home or the building built? Was it cleansed? Was it tested? Was the soil tested? Was the water tested? What type of products are in the home? What type of products are in the environmental space? Whether it's a home, an organization, however the building is organized. What's the filtration like? Was it an old wire that was caught up due to the injury? Is there enough stretching going on? How's the bone health going? Is it like a landfill or a landmine? What's your autoimmune system like? Your circulatory, respiratory? How are they talking? Are they connecting? Is there a disconnect, and where? And how can we tend to that? Food as Medicine, Rodale Institute, Lego Garden Club, and the Tree of Life. Bit by bit.